Welcome to the interview room. Muzzy checking in, the time's here. How you all doing? All right, let's begin. Let's have a chat about the fact that I want to interview the best fighters in the world, and that's that. Had a lot of guests from everywhere, all across the globe. Fighters tell me about the journey.
How are you, girls and guys? Mudzy here from Muay Thai Interviews again. My next guest, she's from the UK. She's won 2 world titles and just recently was fighting for a third when she sustained a bad knee injury, but still managed to finish the fight and only lost by a point. She's been a sponsored fighter at Santai Muay Thai Gym in Chiang Mai for over a year, but is now back in the UK hoping to get some surgery done so that she can get back in the ring and keep chasing her dream. I'm joined by Lisa Brierley. How are you, Lisa?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How have you been? How's the injury coming along?
I've been better, but I'm actually okay emotionally. That's pretty stable. I think the only thing unstable is my knee. It hasn't got any better. I think the only thing that's getting better is that I'm managing to deal with it a bit more. When I first did it, I was really upset and emotionally stable. But now I'm okay to talk about it and learning to walk with it, and trying to put weight on it again without my crutches or my knee brace.
Doing your own little rehabbing the knee.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I did read the article on Facebook about the injury that's put you out for a little while during your WPMF championship fight the other week. I'll get it right. Now, I know you must be feeling pretty devo about it, but would you mind telling us about the fight and how the injury happened?
Yeah, of course. So it was the first round that I actually injured my knee. Me and my trainer had worked a game plan that I was going to use to try and beat Tana Chinook. So the first round, I think it was like a minute in, the game plan was going well. And maybe I thought the game plan was going too well after a minute, and I got a little bit of confidence. I'm not too sure, but I went to throw a left kick, and I don't know if she leant back or my distance wasn't right, but I missed. And obviously when you miss a kick, sometimes you can swing round or give your opponent the back. And I think what I tried to do was maybe not turn round, and I just felt like a pop go in my knee. Oh, now it even makes me shake thinking about the feeling, because I genuinely thought in my head that I dislocated my knee and it popped out and gone back in. Ooh. That's what was going through my head, but obviously it wasn't that. As soon as I put my weight down, I could feel like something wasn't right. Like I knew if I put any more weight on my front leg, it was just going to go. So the rest of the round, I was just trying to act like I was doing the sabai Thai style, but really I wasn't. I was just thinking in my head, like, what is that? What is that? How am I going to get through this now? How do I hide this? So I walked back to my corner and instantly I told my trainer, like, something's not right. And when I fight, I'm really good at quite hiding if I've got pain or if I'm out of breath. You kind of like, the more fights you have, the more you can calm yourself. But I was just talking at my trainer, and that never happens. Like when he wants me to be quiet, I'm quiet. And yeah, it's like, because I'm scared of him. So I was just talking at him like, thanks wrong. And he was like, right, okay, you just go back and you clinch. So the second round, I remember getting up off the stool, walking back, thinking, I can't even walk right now. And I went straight into clinching, and I went to knee her with my bad knee, the right one, because obviously I could only hold the weight on my left leg, and I felt another pop. And it honestly just kept feeling like something was dislocating, but obviously it was like the ligaments going. But it was fine. I could deal with that. And obviously, you know, Thai style ladies, they tend to run away from you because they're female fighters just throwing kicks. Well, that's Tana Chinook style. So obviously, as soon as the clinch broke, she left, and I went to chase after her, not thinking about my leg, like quite quickly, and my leg just gave way. I mean, everyone thought I was wincing with pain, but it wasn't wincing. It was, or like buckling, because my leg was hurting. My knee was just giving way the whole time. And obviously she saw that, and being the amazing fighter she is, she took action on that and came with the low kicks. Luckily she was kicking my left leg, which would be my back leg, obviously being southpaw. And I think where I was trying to block with that and put in the weight on my right leg, that's when it was giving way. Yeah. So it wasn't the power of the left kick, actually, with her kick on my left leg taking me down. It was me trying to block, and my right leg just giving in. And obviously I got the 8 count. And I remember looking at my corner saying, it's out. And I think they thought like my heart was out or the lights were out or something, you know, that typical saying like the lights went out.
Yeah.
But I just, again, thought my knee had come out dramatically. And then I remembered like my gym had like bet a lot of money on me. I think it was like 50,000 baht, and that's literally what went through my head was 50,000 baht, get up and fight. So I literally got up and just ran at her. And then I went back to my corner, and I remember my trainer saying to me, which he always said to me from training camps, is like, no pain-free, no pain-free, what was it? I can't even remember it now, we're having an interview. How bad is that? But basically he always says like, no tired free, no pain free, no cry free, because I'm prone to crying in training. And I went back in the third round, again, still in panic. You can see the panic all over my face, and I took an elbow on my nose. And at this point, I literally thought in my head was, fuck it, this can't get any worse. And from that point on, it was like it knocked the panic and the fear out of me of what was going on. And it was just all like guns blazing, I'm going for this now, because I generally thought my knee's gone, my nose is gone, can't get any more pain. And then the next, I think after that round, it was my best round, the fourth round, where I was just literally changed from southpaw on, Manasak told me to change from southpaw into orthodox, which I hadn't fought for a year in stance, so it was a bit dodgy, and punch and clinch. And that was the fourth round. I think I took the fourth round pretty big, actually, to be fair. And then again in the fifth round, I had it. I knew that I wanted it a lot. I'd been through a whole training camp, and I've got all this pain, like Manasak says to me, I've gone through all this pain, what, just to give up? I don't think so. So the fifth round, I just went at her again, but I knew deep down I couldn't bring that second round back from those kicks at all.
Once the fight ended and the like the adrenaline dump had worn off, did the pain like really kick in after that?
I just couldn't walk. And I don't know if that's from, I just couldn't walk. And I remember Manasak just picking me up, like literally picking me up. But I think that was the relief of not having to hide that I was hurting.
Yeah.
The knee didn't really hurt at the time, but I knew I couldn't put weight on it without it giving way.
Yeah.
My face was actually hurting more from the elbows, because I fractured my nose as well. So my mind was on, my nose hurts, is that broken? My leg, I just knew I couldn't stand on it. It wasn't that pain just yet, but I knew if I stood on it, it was going to go.
And like, I believe the opponent that you fought in that world title was a rematch at the beginning of the year. You fought in an 8-woman tournament in, I'm going to get this wrong, Ayutthaya?
Yeah, that one.
Where you made it to the final against her, but you come up just short. Can you tell us about that tournament?
Yeah, so it was an 8-women tournament. The prize money being 100,000 baht. The runner-up would get 50,000 baht. So obviously being 8 girls, 2 groups of 4, and literally our names got picked out of a hat, so the groups got separated. In my group, the first round I fought a Thai girl, I cannot say her name, so I'm not even going to attempt it, and I managed to get through on points. But when I got out of the ring, I had it got really bad by my trainer. He was like, I've not taught you to fight like this, why are you fighting like it? And then the second round I fought Fanny, or forgive me if this is wrong, Fanny Pelumpi from Greece. I won that fight by clinch and knee again, clinch knee, to then go on to face Tana Chinook in the final. Again, I knew it was going to be FEMA. She was going to have that FEMA style kick and run. I'd been warned obviously by Manasak, like during training, like this is if you fight each girl, this is what you're going to be doing. So our plan was clinch and knee. I think, I'm not very good with scoring and things like that. But from what I was told, it was a close fight. I took the second round pretty big, just from clinch and knee, but the last round was pretty 50-50, and I think in the last 30 seconds I went forward and I got caught with 2 kicks, so obviously it looked like she'd won, and obviously from the scoring, she'd won all 3 rounds. So it went to her. So I because I knew I could beat her, not beat her, but because I had a good round in the second, I knew I was capable of giving her a good fight. So for me, having the opportunity to fight her again for a rematch for a WPMF title, I was really excited about, because I think everybody hadn't really seen me much this year before that 8-woman tournament. So they were expecting me not even to get past the first round. So the fact I got all the way to the final, I think, really surprised a lot of people. So that was the tournament for that.
And do you find, like, fighting in Thailand, being a foreigner, unless you knock out your, like, or say for a big fight, unless you knock out your opponent or at least drop them for an 8 count, that they're more often than not going to give it to the Thai if it is close?
From my experience, when I have lost, I've always lost pretty big, and it's always been pretty shown, like pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But I think what it is with the Thai girls, I don't think it necessarily goes to them because they're Thai and we're in their culture. Don't get me wrong, that will influence it. But I think the Thai girls are really good at showing control.
Yeah.
Showing control. Like, obviously, a lot of Thai girls I fight always tend to get that last shot in. Before the referee's going to break it, they'll get that last knee in. They will get that last kick in that you just can't. You'll kick them and they will get that kick back. They're very good at this. And they're very good at faking that they've won the fight, which makes you yourself panic. So what I found from my experience is, maybe I won the fight, but because I'm looking at my opponent and she's controlling it and she's looking like she's won, I panic and run forward like a crazy person, trying to knock her out when I didn't really need to do that if I'd just shown the control like her.
Yeah.
So I think that does help a lot. If not, I find when I fight in Chiang Mai, if it is 50-50, I find I get the fight more, to be honest. And I don't know if that's because I'm bringing a lot of people to the fights and they want tickets. I'm not too sure. But from my experience, when I fight in Chiang Mai, I tend to get the decision more. However, recently, I did just fight a well-known fighter in Chiang Mai called Nong Ben. She's a Northern champion. I fought her 4 times now. And it stands with 2 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw, and I think that's the only fight that I've really thought I won that and they gave it a draw.
Yep.
But again, my gym was better. Well, my trainer was betting a lot of money. I think like 17,000 on that fight, and I found the gambling controlled it more than the actual referees. That's what I'm finding more, be it spending more time in Thailand. How the gamblers are gambling and cheering, that's affecting the referees more than actual referees giving it to the home girl.
Have you seen that documentary called Lumpini?
I don't think so.
It's out on. I watched it the other month. You can buy it on Vimeo. It's called Lumpini, and that talks exactly about how the gamblers controlling the outcomes of the fights.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I have to...
And they end up having more of a pull than the referee, sort of thing. And they, just like you said. But in saying that, was that the first tournament that you've ever fought in?
Yeah, first one I've ever fought in my life.
And did you do anything different when training for the 8-women tournament? And, like, what were you doing in between fights to, keep warm and keep loose, that sort of thing?
So normally my normal training schedule would be training from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. But we knew with this tournament it was going to be a daytime event, not a nighttime, like fighting at night. So my trainer actually changed my whole schedule. So in the mornings at 6 I would start running as normal, and I would come back and I would just purely do strength and conditioning. So strength and conditioning as in Thai style, so I don't know, 500 knees on the bag, 100 teeps and a few weights, but then more push-ups, sit-ups, body weight exercises. And then I would go eat, and he would start giving me more protein, but as he says, he dopes me, which would be giving me like 2 eggs to drink. That was my doping. And then I started training at 1 p.m, so in the afternoon, 1 o'clock. And obviously no one's training with you then. It was just me and my trainer. It was like having private one-to-one sessions. And And I would do, so obviously with the tournament, every round was 3 rounds. So I was doing 9 rounds of 5 minutes with him, just going. And then after, I would do half hour of clinch with my trainer. So can you imagine clinching Manazak pins and toe for half hour? Oh, I actually chipped 2 of my teeth in this training camp, I just remembered. And then I would finish with knees on the bag, teeps on the bag, and then I would go home and sleep. And that was 6 days a week for about 3 weeks roughly. During that time, I chipped 2 teeth, which I actually got fixed. One was me trying to do some pathetic attempt at a pull-up, and I actually just fell down and whacked my chin. The other was clinching Manasak. I hit my jaw on his shoulder, but I was really upset because he always tells me to put my gum shield in because I have big teeth anyway, and I didn't, so he told me off. And then I also got 3 boils in my right armpit because I was so run down from training. And so as the Thais say, they say phi, which I think it either means a staph infection or a boil, I'm not too sure. So I was on antibiotics for a week of that course, but I tell you, it did pay off because I got to the finals. So yeah, Manasak completely changed my whole schedule. He would start me training at 1 o'clock and he wouldn't finish, he'd train me till 4 o'clock and then he would start work at 4 o'clock till 7 just to try and get me through that camp. So yeah, it was tough, I'm not gonna lie.
And did you find, like, with your, when you're on the antibiotics, did that knock you around at all?
No, I don't think it did. Normally it would, but I think I was so set on I want to win this tournament, and obviously it being 100,000 baht prize money, obviously us fighters don't get too much money. I was like, I want that money. Yeah. So I think I managed just to get through it. Obviously, like my power went a little bit, but I genuinely think like I wanted it that much. I just went through it all.
And like when you were fighting in between fights, like what did they have you doing to like keep warm, keep loose, keep well rested? Did they do anything like that, or did you eat like certain foods to keep your energy levels up and that sort of thing?
Oh, well, during the tournament, my first fight, I'm pretty sure I fought, and then I got out of the ring, and I think I was only waiting and one more fight, and then I was back in there. So I think initially it was only really about, from my first fight to the second fight, I was probably only waiting about 15 minutes. At this time, I had like such a good team around me, honestly. I had someone fanning me with a towel. I had another person icing my legs. I had Manasak obviously shouting at me because I'd fought really bad. So he was like in my face telling me what not to do and what to do in the next one. I'm pretty sure the big boss, Ood, the owner with Mick of the gym, was like sorting my sports bra out. Like I literally had someone. I was like the queen doing something for me. So I didn't have time to think. Fought the second fight, and the second fight, that's when there was a little bit of a wait. It must have been like 45 minutes, something like that. And at this point, I had to actually change outfits because originally I think I was in the red corner. Yeah, for 2 fights, and then when I was meant to fight in the final, I had to change my clothes. And again, that was just keeping me like awake, keeping my adrenaline up. So it was just pure ice and water the whole time. Otherwise, just saving energy. Yeah,
nice. Well, at least that you didn't have to, or for your second fight, you didn't have to wait too long. There's nothing worse than like some tournaments or promotions they have it planned, because obviously not the whole promotion is all tournaments. There's, you know, a lot of singular fights, and sometimes like people they space it so you're fighting and you're waiting like an hour and a half till you fight again, and then so it's good that they spaced it out. Good for you.
Yeah.
And like you did touch on it, and I've heard that when you first came to Thailand, you did get thrown in the deep end straight away, and you suffered a few heavy losses, and maybe you didn't have the right trainers for you. Would you be able to tell me what you went through and what changed? Because after a few setbacks, you went on a nice little tear for a while.
Yeah, so the first time I went to Shanghai was just for 10 days, like a little holiday. I fought, and then Mick and Ood kindly offered me a sponsorship and said come back in January. So I went home for a month, come back, and within that first month I got offered to fight Tisha. She was I think it's a WMC 51 kilo world champion. So I had a month to prepare for that, and that was obviously when I was orthodox and I was training under Thailand Pinson. I went in to fight her. I went the 5 rounds with her again, but it literally completely highlighted everything that was wrong. She kicked me in the first round, and I actually wondered where my ribs went. I've never been kicked that hard in my life, honestly. Well, before I came to Thailand. So points went on to fight, I think, Nong Ben's, the one that I said earlier that I fought 4 times, and another guy, and that was under Thailand, and I lost 3 times. And I don't think sometimes it's necessarily that your trainer's doing something wrong or I'm doing something wrong, but I suppose sometimes if the style's just not working or not getting the results, you need to change something.
Yeah.
So I went on to change my trainer to Crew Chat. Again, I think I had maybe another 2 fights under him, maybe 2 or 3, and I lost again. One being KO to the stomach. I went to punch and they threw a teeth. So thinking about it, I fought Tisha, 2 times world champion, Nong Benz, who was former Northern champion, another Northern champion, I forgot her name now, Takatan, Pammy. I know I'm saying all these Thai girl names that no one will have a clue who they are, but if you came to Thailand and looked at them, you'd be like, oh, okay. And I literally got destroyed by all of them. And that's where I hurt my right shin. It's always my right side, my right knee now. But yeah, it's my right shin. I couldn't kick with it. I couldn't block with it. I had like my shin bone, it felt like there was like a hole in it, and I had a lot of swelling and blood. And obviously I'd been through 2 trainers by this point, and I would like to say that I was kicking the girls really hard and that's why my shin broke, but I think it was that I was kicking so slow they could see it and I was just kicking their blocks. That's honestly I think that's happened. And that's when Manasak got hold of me and said, okay, I will train Lisa, but only if I can start her from scratch, from Southpaw. And literally I went back to basics, not as in even basics as in just how you block and punch. It was basics as in doing sit-ups, doing push-ups, doing pull-ups, getting your sprints in, getting your runs in, that sort of basic. Like he would make sure I was doing 100 push-ups, 300 sit-ups, a 10k run in the morning. Like he got my body ready for Thai boxing. He didn't just get me ready for fighting, he got my body ready to compete. And that's when he took me from Southpaw, from orthodox to Southpaw, and completely went back to basic. And that's when I went on, I think it was 12 fights winning streak. Nice. But obviously I wasn't also fighting the high standard that I was originally fighting when I first came to Thailand. So I was just winning really, and then it was this year then I started to fight the bigger names. So I think because of last year when I was on the Bangkok scene, I was losing so much and people were looking at this silly Falang. I went away and sort of hid kind of, I suppose, in like the backyard in Chiang Mai, fighting and getting my experience back up in Southpaw. And then this year came back on the Bangkok scene as Southpaw, and I think that's when people started to see my improvement and my development from so much. But Manasak does not let me slack on anything.
Yeah, so let's talk about Manasak. Obviously, he's been instrumental in helping you improve and also taking your training and your fighting to another level. What do you think he's done differently to make you a better fighter compared to other trainers that you've had in the past?
He gives you a program, like he gives you a schedule. So with my the other trainers, which I completely respect, and they do very well with other fighters, just obviously maybe it didn't work out with me. I would go to the gym, they'd watch me clinch, they would hold pads for me, but then after that I would go away and do my own thing. Whereas with Manasak, I will come to the gym, he will tell me, okay, every day I want you to run this distance, this many sit-ups, this many push-ups, this many jump knees. So I knew that before anything that he was going to teach me, that's what I had to do off my own back every day in the gym. So then I would go and he would do one-on-one clinching with me, and then I would clinch other people and he would watch. And then instead of just killing me on pads, obviously because I'd gone back from orthodox to Southpaw, it was like teaching a new person. He had to baby me on the pads. he taught me about timing on the pads, as in if I was going to throw 2 punches, instead of just going full power with your jab and then full power with your cross, it would be a light jab and then full power. So like typical like timing. And then after, when I think, okay, I finished the pads, I'll just go hit the bag for a bit. He'll be on pads, but he has eyes everywhere.
Yeah.
So he'll be training someone, but if you're not hitting that bag, he will know about it. Like, I will just turn just to, I don't know, talk to someone, or someone asks me a question, and all I will hear is yun, and that means teeth. That was my nickname from him. He will shout yun at me, and I will go straight back to that bag, and then he'll come over to the bag, and he will give me set, it's not combinations, but he'll give me set things to work on and tell me why I'm doing it and what sort of situation I would use in it. So I wasn't just hitting a bag like, oh, I'm just hitting the bag to tire myself out. I was thinking about why I was throwing the shots in the bag and why maybe I was moving around the bag. So not only was he taught my body to be strong, obviously with the basic things, but he also taught me about what I would do with these things that I'm doing every day. Because 9 times out of 10, when you're a sponsored fighter, you go to the gym every day, you know you're hitting the bag, you know you're going to be clinching, but sometimes I think you do it automatically. It becomes like second nature, and you forget why you're doing it, and then if you forget why you're doing it on a bag, you're not going to know why you're doing it in a fight.
Yeah. If
that makes sense. And then he would look at also, obviously I eat at the gym, he will make sure, like I said earlier, I'm eating enough protein and eating enough rice, because obviously, you know, with a lot of old school teachers and stuff, it's eat sticky rice, eat, you'll have power, eat, you'll have power. But with Manasak, he understands that you need protein, you need carbs, you need fats. He actually gets that. And so he would also obviously make me 2 eggs to eat. They would be like kind of warm, running in a glass. I'd have to down after training. Yeah. And then he actually got me onto helping me with like my vitamins. So he'll make sure I'm taking vitamin C and amino acids. So like he really like taught me, well, not everything because I don't know everything, but he's got me to, before I would just hit the bag and not know why I'm doing it, but now I understand why I'm doing it, I understand my body. And when I came to Thailand in January, not last year, so 2017, yeah, I was 55 kilos. I started training with Manasite and I walked 51 kilos. So you can see the effects that it had on me.
So would it be fair to say that he pushes you quite hard in training and is probably the hardest trainer you've had?
Oh yeah, he reduces me to tears all the time. They call me long high, which means cry. Yeah, because he's really hard on me, but it's paid off. I wouldn't be where I am without him, and obviously being sponsored by Nick and Ood, which I'm very grateful for every day. But I feel like if Manasak hadn't got my hands on me, I wouldn't be here. He's the hardest person on me, but he's the only person that I don't know how to explain it, but he knows how to get results from me. He knows me as a person. He knows if he's just to buy with me on the pads that I'm not going to do my full power. Maybe I'll be like, oh, I'm tired. If he's angry with me, he just gives me one look and I'm like, oh, I can do 10 rounds, it's fine, that kind of thing. So he definitely knows how to get results from me as well.
Yeah, nice. And also another famous female that you fought was on one of the Muay Thai Angels events where you beat Zaza.
Yeah.
You were telling me before, because I didn't know who she was, that she was one of the Pinto brothers' girlfriends. Yeah, I know who the Pinto brothers are. How did that fight happen? How'd that fight go? And you must have been pretty happy with that win.
Yeah, so I actually, like I said, I walked 51 kilos, sometimes 52. I fought Zaza Sorori at 53 kilos, so I knew there was going to be a bit of a difference because obviously I was walking 51, 52, the white's at 53, and I was aware she would be cutting a little bit of weight. Instantly in the first round, I could feel the weight difference. She kicked me one time, and I think my head like flicked back, and that's the first time I've really been elbowed by a Thai girl, actually. Obviously, I'm fully aware Thai girls are very good kickers, and they kick me all the time, like, oh. But Zaza in the first round, elbowed the crap out of me. She was just, these elbows were just coming out of everywhere, and it was really overwhelming. And I'd been practicing with Manasak how to block an elbow, but I didn't. At the time when she was elbowing me, I was blocking him, and I was trying to attack her at the same time she was attacking me. So I was actually getting more caught with the elbows. So I went back from my first round, and Manasat was like, "Stop like retaliating at the same time, Lucy. You need to wait for your shot. Like, she's bigger and her timing's better than yours. You can't retaliate at the same time." And I found that, so I got the first one out the way, and then the second round, I genuinely think, because the first round she had won clearly, she thought I was going to be scared, and the next 2 rounds I wouldn't try, but I just went straight into clinch and knee again in the second round to protect myself from the elbows, because I couldn't out kick her. Her timing was way better, and she got really tired really quickly. And the second round, I managed to win on points just purely from knee and clinch. I could pull her, I could knee her, even though she was bigger. But she didn't have. It was like maybe she hadn't trained from it. I'm not too sure. She doesn't clinch too much. Not many Thai girls do, to be fair. That gave me the confidence to go in the third round. Like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. And I think in the third round, I put her on the floor, like just from manhandling her. I'd like to say it was a good. So yeah, I won that by clinching in. That was on, I think it was Muay Thai Day in Bangkok, February the 6th or 11th. I'm pretty sure it's the 6th. But,
so do you find that's your main strength with females, like clinching, because you just said that they don't do it a lot, whereas you do clinching every day?
Yeah.
So do you find that that's your go-to if you feel you're starting to lose in like the punching or the kicking department, you just clinch and go to your main
100%. 100%. From my experience, I found Thai girls are very good kickers, and their timing is like 1 million times better than mine. And their ring experience, they know when to attack, when to move. But however, a lot of the Thai girls that I am fighting are quite young and still at school, so of course they're not training as much as me. So physically, if I'm training twice a day, 6 times a week, I should be stronger if I'm really training. If I'm a really good sponsored fighter like I want to be, I should be physically stronger then. So I go into the clinch and I find I am stronger, I can knee. And I don't know if that's because like I say, I think that might be because I'm training more, and it might be because they don't like clinching, and their style is female, kicking outside. So if I know that I'm not going to win by kick, I will go straight into that clinch, and I'd say 8 times out of 10, I will be a little bit stronger than them. However, if I was to fight a female Westerner, I would be more female style. I'd be more of kick.
And being in Thailand, like fighting between 50 to 52 kilos, that's probably a good weight division for you, because Thais in general are quite small, so you'd be a small person as well. So being in Thailand, you'd have no shortage of top tier opponents to fight in that weight class. Where there's some other how do I put it, like foreign ladies, they come and for Thai standards they're quite big compared to they might not be that big back in their country, but Westerners are generally bigger than Thais.
Yeah.
And is Santai the only gym that you've trained at in Thailand, or have you trained at a few other different ones?
No, I trained at one more. It's a small gym in Ayutthaya, actually, with Sip Palang. I wouldn't even really say it's like it's not a big gym. I don't know how to describe the gym really. It's run, how do I explain it? The gym is his house with a ring outside. Yeah. So you have his house and the ring outside, and it's family run. It's one father, his eldest son, they're the trainers, and then they've got 2 younger brothers. One of them's retired from fighting and kind of works more. The younger boy, who's around about 8 now, is fighting. So it's not a busy gym at all, but I stayed there for, I think, roughly 3 weeks. One time I lived in their house, and again, I literally slept, ate and trained, and I fought for them 3 times, and that was maybe about 4 years ago now, something like that. Yeah.
And I'm keen to hear about. Can you tell me about the two world titles that you won, and did you win them in Thailand?
No, I won those in France. Um, with that fight, I can't remember the dates too well. Maybe that's because I've been punched in the head too much.
Did
But
they make you wear elbow
I,
pads in France?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was really gutted about that. Because yeah, I'm not really, I don't throw too many elbows anyway, but it was really weird for me. I felt like I actually wanted to elbow her, but I couldn't because
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like it was going to do too much effect. Not that that's my style. But yeah, I actually fought Non Benz, who I spoke about recently, on the Sunday, rested the Monday, and then got offered the world title fight on the Tuesday. Tuesday around 4 o'clock it got confirmed. I trained Tuesday night for an hour, and then I flew out on Wednesday morning. I took 3 flights to get to Geneva, and then I drove from Geneva to, well, I got picked up and we drove from Geneva to France, Samosans, or French Alps, made weight and fought on, checked weight on the Friday and then fought on the Saturday. So I fought twice in 1 week. And originally I just thought it was for a lion fight world title, but it was for the Muay Thai Grand Prix world title as well. So it was 2 titles in one fight. So as well as wearing elbow pads, I actually got in the ring, took my monkey off, had my gum shield in, and they told me instead of fighting 5 rounds, I was going to fight 4 rounds because my opponent didn't want to fight 5. So
Can you
it was
do that
really
in a world
weird.
title fight?
Well, apparently you can, but I didn't know that because for me, I find as the fight goes on, I actually get better. I
Yeah.
settle into it more, I calm. So to me, it really threw me actually. Um, but that was fine because in Thailand, you fight 5 rounds of 2 minutes for girls anyway. Whereas when I fought for this, it was going to be 3 minutes anyway. So it ends up being 4 rounds of 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And obviously we were talking about earlier being my style being clinch and knee, but for this fight it was actually female, which was weird. I really enjoyed it actually because I never really get a chance to try and have that style with the Tigers because they're so much better. But for this fight, I fought Fanny Ramos. She's a very forward fighter, heavy puncher and kicks on the end, so it was quite easy for me. Not easy, but I found it worked well for me to step backwards and kick. And so I won the fight really by having a stepping back and left kick. Obviously, I did clinch her actually in the second round, and she wasn't really a clinch fighter, so I think that tied her out, enabling me to then kick and move off in the later rounds and take that by points decision win.
Oh, nice, nice. And what I wanted to ask you is, do you find it like you've set it into southpaw quite nicely now? So do you think if you were to fight back in orthodox that would be weird for you?
If I was, well, when I injured my knee, obviously that was my right. I was in southpaw, and
Yep.
because I couldn't put any weight on my right leg, that fight I changed into orthodox. Just obviously because I couldn't do anything else, and it wasn't really weird for me at the time. Actually, I think maybe it's because I didn't think about it. So I think in a fighting situation, I could probably go back into it quite easy. Whereas if I'd go into trainer, I'd probably find it more difficult because I'd be thinking about it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. But after obviously fighting orthodox and in my last fight and not training like it for a year, I think it's quite easy if you don't overthink it to fall back into orthodox style, especially being right-handed. Even though I prefer southpaw 1,000,000%.
So yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So if you're completely injury free and injuries and that don't play a factor, you would keep fighting southpaw.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. And I also believe that you used to train back in the UK at the same gym as Daniel McGowan, another highly successful fighter. He's currently at the Petchin D Academy in Bangkok, making a decent name for himself. What was it like training alongside him?
To be honest, I only trained with Dan for a couple of months. Originally, I was training at a really small gym in my hometown, and obviously I'd had a couple of fights, but obviously it being a really small gym, once you get to a level where you need to learn more, and maybe the people there can't provide it, you move on. So I moved over to Dan's gym, which was run by Liam Robinson in Northampton, so about an hour away from me. So I moved over to train with him. I was only for a couple of months before Liam's death, but it was very intimidating. I remember the first time Dan held pads for me, I'd actually clinched for about, I don't know, 20 minutes before, and at my old gym we'd never done much clinch, and I felt like I couldn't hold my neck up, so I was thinking, I need to impress Dan on the pads, but I was just so tired. I felt like I couldn't throw anything because of my neck. But it was a massive wake up call actually to watch all these amazing fighters behind me, and then inspired me to do better. And then obviously with Liam's death, the gym stopped, and then people went off and to do their own thing. So, but I've trained with Dan since, like with a few clinch, and I'd go over to maybe Bedford where he was, and my friend Simon, and it would be just three of us maybe doing a bit of clinch and pad work. But it was a good few years ago now, but it was very intimidating, I'd say that.
Yeah, he's a machine. I remember watching a video, I think it went for about 25 minutes, him just clinching Damien Alamus. I'm not sure if you probably heard of him.
Yeah.
And they just, for 25 minutes, I'm assuming he would have done pads or something, because he looked like he'd been working out for a while, and I was just like, man, like that's pretty impressive, and clinching Damien Alamus as well.
Yeah.
I don't actually think I've asked you, but how did you find Muay Thai?
So when I was younger, I used to live in a place called Potters Bar, Hertfordshire. It's just outside North London, and I lived there till I was about 14, 15, and they had like a karate sort of sessions that I'd go to once a week, just competing in karate because I was quite competitive. I didn't actually fight, but obviously I was just going there once a week. And then we moved up to St Neots, which is Cambridgeshire, about 45 minutes away. I looked for a karate gym around there to carry on with, but they didn't have anything. And then my next door neighbour offered to take me to a Thai boxing session, or Muay Thai, sorry. Just like as that's the closest thing they had to it around there, and that's how literally I got going, really. I did that for a couple months when I was 18, and then I stopped, did the whole sort of drinking and going out thing, and then I got back into it when I was about maybe 21, 22, just went back to Thai boxing again for fitness, and then I just saw people fighting and wanted to do the same.
And never looked back on karate ever since, eh?
No, and I never. I was young, I was like 15 at the time, so.
I think like almost everyone has like done at least a couple of sessions of karate once in their lifetime. I remember when I was like in primary school, and they actually had people from the local, because they just used to do it at like the local school on the weekends, and they actually had, that's how I did it. I think they had people like doing the door knocks, doing like the whole street thing, like, do you want to do karate, do you want to, and like, you know, being in primary school, like, yeah, I want to do karate. And then I think I went to like 2 or 3 lessons, and I just didn't go back. I was like, this is boring.
Yeah. Like no contact, whatever you do, like, yeah, I would never go back to that.
So how many fights have you had in the UK before you moved to Thailand?
I think roughly it was about 10. And
in your own experience, what do you find is the difference between fighting Thais and fighting Westerners?
With the Westerners, I find that they come forward a lot more punches, and then a kick on the end. So my style was quite more stepping backwards and kicking when I was fighting the Westerners. And then when I went to Thailand, I found that the Thai girls don't punch really at all. And they kick and run away, literally kick and run away. And I just found I was too slow for it. I was just way too slow for it. So I find Westerners come forward more. Thai girls will go backwards a lot more, in my experience.
Do you, how do I say this? Do you find Westerners easier to fight than Thais?
I wouldn't say it's easier. To score Muay Thai, I find it easier to actually score a point to Westerners, but that's if you don't get KO'd, because obviously I find the Westerners are a lot more stronger. They have a lot more strength and conditioning, and their boxing is a little bit better actually. So you have to. It's more. I find it's more dangerous for a KO, but I find it easier to score a point. Whereas with the Tigers, I find it really hard to score points with them, if that kind of makes sense. So it's not easier in the sense of the fight will be easier, but trying to score a point may be a little bit easier, but you might get KO'd at the same time with big punches.
Yeah, and like with point scoring and stuff, in your experience, how do you find the reffing and the judging from your fights? Because obviously in Thailand, everyone knows what they're looking for, but I think we have it in Australia as well, where sometimes different judges look for different things, or there might be like a boxing judge as well as a Muay Thai judge and a MMA judge, so they score. They may score it differently in their heads. That's the way sometimes you have three judges and one judge will give like a crazy score, and it's like, how'd they get that?
Yeah. So in Thailand, like I mentioned earlier, I think there's a big, for a fighter, you have to be able to look like you're controlling the fight. I think this plays, like the referees really look for this. I find the first round is always sabai in Thailand. I've never really, in my experience, fought a Tiger that's come at me in the first round. And then I find the third and fourth, if you know you've scored well and you've made your opponent tired, the fifth round you don't really have to do much. That will literally purely be acting
Yeah.
and showing that you've won that fight. You don't need to do anything, unless obviously also in Thailand, from my experience, when in the fifth round, if you get knocked down or you fall down or something, I found that the referees will give that a big score, because I fall down in the fifth round so many times. It's really funny now, because Manasek always says to me before I go in the fifth round, don't fall down, because I've fallen down so many times where I've been winning. Well, not winning, but I've won the third and fourth rounds from points, and in the fifth, I would go and I would fall over, I would get teeped and fall down, and then they would give it to my opponent. So I think I found if you win the third and fourth and you act like you show like you've won in the fifth, you will win. But say you win the third and fourth, and then the fifth, you show that you haven't won and you run at them, 9 times out of 10 the referee will actually give it to the other opponent, because you've shown that you've lost. So I don't know really how to explain it, but I think if you can show you win the third and fourth, the fifth, you don't have to do too much, from experience of point scoring.
And what about back in the UK? Is it the same or opposite?
I haven't fought in the UK, I think maybe nearly 3 years. So I don't actually have a clue. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? But I wouldn't even comment on it because I don't have a clue.
That's okay, because I only ask that because like a lot of judges in Australia, they sort of score it like boxing. So if you're fighting a 5-round fight and you win the first 3 rounds, you've pretty much won the fight, because it'll be like 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, and then if you lose the 2 rounds, it's like, well, who cares, because you've won the first 3 rounds. But in Thailand, it's all about how you finish. It doesn't matter how you start, it's how you don't want to see you finish strongly. I don't think a lot of judges take that into consideration back in Australia.
Yeah, that, to be honest, now you've said it like that, that does me how it was when I was here, but I really can't comment because I wouldn't even know.
All good. And since sustaining your knee injury, no doubt you've had a lot of time to do some thinking and reflecting. What have you taken away from this, and what's the plans for you in relation to surgery, recovery time, when you plan to be back training and fighting again?
Oh yeah. So at the time I was obviously really upset, and all I was thinking about was I'm never going to be able to fight again. That's generally what went through my head, because I'd heard so many people that have injured their knees and they've never been right again. Literally, I was just thinking my fighting career is over. A little bit dramatic, I know. And then obviously I calmed down a bit and I researched my injuries. So for anyone that doesn't know, I've ruptured my ACL, and I have a bucket handle tear in my MCL. But now, obviously, reflecting and coming down off it, there's a lot of people that have fought Muay Thai or not fought Muay Thai and have worse injuries than me. And can't even go back to their own sport. So I feel like even I'm really upset and that I'm hurt, I'm lucky that this is just this. Like, other people don't have limbs and can still fight and things like this. So I kind of like had to go at myself and was like, stop being so dramatic and feeling sorry for yourself, and just research the problem and try and get back to it as much as you can. So at the minute, I'm still actually waiting to be seen by a UK orthopedic consultant because the waiting list is so long. I've looked into private healthcare over here. For me to have surgery over here, it's over £6,000. For me to have private surgery in Thailand, it's depending on what hospital you go to, but it ranges from £4,000 to £4,500. I don't have that kind of money. Obviously, I've been in Thailand it'll be a year and 8 months this month. And I was just living off what I was getting paid there. So I was living off maybe about 3,000 baht a month, which is about £60. So obviously I had no savings, and I couldn't ask anybody here to pay for it. So my friend Josh and Paul and Santai set up a GoFundMe page to raise money for me. And obviously I was really shocked by it. And in the meantime, seeing how many people have commented and messaged me and supported me and gave me advice and obviously donated money, it's actually made me think, okay, I want to obviously recover from my knee, get back fighting, but in the meantime I want to go back to Santai, and I want to help everybody that comes through the gym, whether it just be like plaiting their hair for a fight, or sometimes there's a mixed communication between a trainer and someone new because they can't understand the speech. If I can just help maybe translate that a little bit. So really at the minute I kind of want to give back to people that are helping me, and everybody that is in a situation like me, I'd really like to give back. But obviously I need to get all the money together before I'm able to do that. So right now I'm looking into surgery, who I want to do the surgery, trying to obviously try to raise money on my own behalf, not just the GoFundMe page, to pay for surgery, and then I plan to go back to Thailand. Obviously if something comes up in the meantime in the UK, say, I don't know, a miracle happens and I can be seen by a knee consultant tomorrow, and they can give me surgery in the UK on the NHS, so I don't have to pay any money that anybody's donated to me. I will refund straight away and give back to them, and still continue to go back to Thailand, rehab there and help people. So I don't really have a plan, but I have a plan, if that kind of makes sense.
Yep. And once you finally do get surgery, how long recovery time are we looking at before you think you can get back in the training and then eventually get back in the ring?
I've had really mixed advice on it. Obviously, if you Google it and you see a surgeon or a consultant, they say 6 to 9 months. But people who have actually had the same injury as me, some are saying they got back in the ring after 8 months. Some are saying they got back in the ring after 7 months. Some are saying they haven't been back in the ring since, or 18 months. So from the advice everyone's gave me, I think recovery time at least will be 6 months, at least. Getting back in the ring, I would love to say 6 months. I really would. But realistically, if I'm going to rehab my leg properly so this doesn't happen again, I'm not too sure. I'm going to have to see how it goes. But before I get back in the ring, I know it's going to be at least 7 to 8 months.
Yeah.
I'd like to say.
Yeah.
But from the doctors, they say 6 to 9 months recovery.
Nice. And I just wanted to back up one sec. So the reason you switched to southpaw, did you say you broke your shin?
I don't think I broke it, but there's a permanent lump there. Manasak drained it for me, and a lot of black, I wouldn't even say it was blood, it was like black dead blood came out. And now if I run my fingers over my shin bone, there's a lot of indents, and then a huge, it feels like bone growth on my shin. So I think maybe there was maybe I didn't break my shin, but maybe there was a few injuries inside that all built up in one place, because at one point it felt like I couldn't touch it because the nerves were going through it. I'm sure every Thai fighter's had it, but for me I couldn't really do much to it, so that's why I changed to southpaw.
And that was your left leg, yeah? No, your right one.
Sorry, that was my right leg.
Your right leg. That's right. You said all the injuries happen on your right side of your body.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to change to orthodox. I'm back to orthodox now if my knee doesn't get any better. Who knows?
And if people like want to contact you, stay up to date with your progress, or donate, how can they do that?
Okay, so I've got my Instagram page, which is Lisa B Muay Thai, and then on Facebook we've got the GoFundMe page. I'm really unprepared and I don't have the link, I'm not gonna lie, but if you do look for me on Facebook, none of my stuff is private, nor is the page, so you can find me on Lisa Brierley on Facebook, and I also have a sports page which is Lisa Brierley. My surname is spelled Brierley, and you can find my GoFundMe page on those, and obviously I'm posting stuff that keeping people up to date of like my recovery, my surgery if I have it, and things like that, and obviously and for people that are donating and giving all this generous money, what actually is happening to it. So obviously if I get the surgery in Thailand, it will go on that. If I don't get the surgery, it goes in the UK, I'll refund every single penny.
Oh, my bad. I've been calling you Lisa Brierley. Apologise.
No, it's fine. It's actually, everyone calls me Lisa Brierley, or obviously English people call me Brierley, but it really doesn't bother me.
Sorry, guys and girls. So it's Lisa Brierley. My bad. And last but not least, anyone that you wish to thank or give a shout out to?
Sorry, you broke up then. What was that?
Sorry. Anyone you wish to give thanks or a shout out to?
Oh my God, there's so many people. Okay, let me think about this. So obviously Nick and Ood, the owner sponsors of Santai, who supported me for the last year and a half and while I'm back in the UK. Obviously Manasak, obviously without him I wouldn't even be at this level. I don't think I would have even survived in Thailand. I think I would have moved home about a year ago. Also his friends Mr. Led and Mr. Tid, who when I actually did my injury on the night took me to the hospital and stayed with me when obviously they didn't need to. All my training partners at Santai, they know who they are, so Gonzalo, Haley, Whitney, Darren, Poirier, Chewy, all the kids that helped me, and then all my family and friends back home that always support me throughout everything, injury or no injury.
Nice. Well, thanks very much for having a chat with me, and I really hope that you get your surgery ASAP and you heal up, and that you're back in the ring and back once again on that path, chasing your dreams and going on another tear.
Oh, I actually can't believe I forgot one of the two biggest people as well that have like supported me daily, like not even just like a couple of days since my injury, is Joshua, Twinin, not sure how you pronounce it, and Paul Ram as well. They set up the GoFundMe page, and I know they worked through the night to get it set up and literally write me every day supporting me, so them two as well, please.
Yes, and I'd like to give Paul Ram a shout out too, because he hit me up and like I was saying before, told me that you'd be a good candidate to interview, and you certainly have. And I just want to put it out there that if people are listening and that there is someone that you do want to interview, send me a message, because Mudsy wants to give the people what they want, and I'm more than happy to. So thanks very much for your time, Lisa.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry if I went on a little bit too much.
No, that's fine. That's exactly what I want. Better than one-word answers.
Okay, brilliant.
Cheers.
Thank you. Take care.
The great fighters around the world ask questions and investigate the lives of great warriors, revered and notorious, infamous and legendary. That to me is glorious. Come kick it, still talk some shit with me. I'll ask so you can answer and explain to me the history. I had to throw a vicious knee. I got a passion for the art of 8 limbs. I'm just asking from the heart. So as I conclude this interview, thanks so much for sitting through. Loved all the fighters and the folks that listen. This for you.